Hi, this is Veronica Brill. I'm a registered nurse and I'm the founder of Blenderized RN. In this video, I'm going to be comparing Nestle's Compleat Pediatric, Functional Formularies-Nourish, and Real Food blends. I'd first like to say that this is kind of an odd comparison for me, mainly because Nourish is a real food blended diet. Real Food Blends is also a real food blended diet. And Compleat Pediatric is actually a formula with traces of processed food in it. Let me break down the ingredients in all of these products and you'll soon understand what I mean. Let's start with Real Food Blends. I like them because they've got 4 different products, but let's start with their new one, beef, potatoes, and peas. Now their ingredients are pretty simple: pineapple juice, ground beef, potatoes, peas, and grapeseed oil. I'm a visual person, so let's break this down in a way that we can see it. On this pie chart, you can see that the protein in the product comes from ground beef, peas, and there's protein in potatoes also. The fat comes from the grapeseed oil and some of the ground beef. And the 27 grams of carbs come from the juice, potatoes, and peas, without any added sugar or syrups. The most important thing to take away from this is that all of it is 100% food. Nourish is another great product. It's a shelf-stable, organic whole foods meal replacement, and it's made specifically for pediatrics. Its ingredients are listed here, and you can see everything is real food and organic. There is no added sugar to add extra calories. Everything comes from a plant-based source, and this is an excellent option for children that are fed through a gastric tube. Most plant-based foods have a lot of protein and carbohydrates in them, and even some fat, but the majority of the fat comes from the flax oil, and garbanzo beans make up the majority of the protein. Green peas, carrots, and brown rice also contain quite a bit of protein, but make up the majority of the carbs in the product. Let's talk about Nestle's Compleat Pediatric. First off, I'd like to say that it's ironic to me that a company like Nestle, that historically just makes sugary drinks, sugary cereals, ice cream, chocolate bars, and instant coffee, has a health sciences division that makes formula. Let's break down the ingredients of Nestle's Compleat Pediatric. Ingredients are usually listed by weight. Besides water, the brown rice syrup makes up the majority of the ingredients. In fact, these 3 ingredients make up 98% of this carton. And there's less than 2% of various powdered proteins, oils, vitamins and minerals, and then lastly, fiber. Make sure you go on their website and verify this information for yourself. Nestle recently changed its ingredients within Compleat Pediatric from the majority of it being corn syrup to brown rice syrup. I'm assuming they made this change because the public was starting to become aware of how unhealthy corn syrup really is. The problem with brown rice syrup is that it has a much higher glycemic index than that of corn syrup. Glycemic index is the measurement of how quickly something spikes your blood sugar, and the lower the glycemic index, the better. And you shouldn't be getting the majority of your calories from any type of rice syrup, corn syrup, or sugar. Rice syrup actually has a glycemic index of 98, which is extremely high. It's much higher than table sugar that only has a glycemic index between 60 and 70. To compare, most green vegetables have a glycemic index below 20. So of these 3 ingredients, do we really know how much brown rice syrup or fruit and vegetable blend is in here? Well, we know that there's more water than there is brown rice syrup, and we know that there's more brown rice syrup than the fruit and vegetable blend. I actually called Nestle twice to find out how much fruit and vegetable blend is in each carton. They refused to tell me, stating that this information is proprietary, which means it's a trademark or a company secret. Let's do a mathematical estimate as to how much rice syrup is in Compleat Pediatric. We know that there's 34 grams of carbs, and there are more carbs than any other ingredient. The rice syrup has to be more than the fruit and vegetable blend, So the rice syrup has to be at least 18 grams, which is just over half of the carbs, and at most 24 grams. This means that on a 1,000 calorie diet, a child would be consuming 72 to 96 grams of rice syrup a day, which is 3 to 4 times the World Health Organization recommended amount of free sugars a day. I just want to touch on one more thing regarding the ingredients of Compleat Pediatric. When a product uses real fruits and vegetables, it doesn't need to add fiber because there's a lot of fiber in real fruits and vegetables. The fruit and vegetable puree that's in Pediatric Compleat is either heavily processed or so little of it that there is no fiber. Comparing these products, Nourish gets its fiber from natural sources. Real Food Blends also gets its fiber from the natural sources of food in the product. Compleat Pediatric has to add fiber. You can probably find hundreds, if not thousands, of medical journals listing the benefits of a low-sugar diet that consists of fresh fruits, vegetables, grains, and lean meats. Nestle, on the contrary, cannot show that long-term living off of rice syrup is healthy, so it creates its own studies showing that real food is unhealthy. If you go to the Nestle Health Sciences website under Compleat Pediatric, in the details, you'll find that they have a reference that says homemade blenderized tube feedings have been shown to have high levels of bacteria and have been associated with increased risk of illness. You won't find the reference to this on their website, but I contacted Nestle and they sent me an email with their reference to that quote. This is the email that they sent me. Feel free to email me and I'll send you the full copy of this. But the reference that they're talking about is at the very bottom, and I've highlighted it here to make it bigger. First thing I'd like to say is Sheila Campbell, the registered dietitian doing this study, actually works for Nestle. And the article isn't actually about blended diets. It's about the major advances in tube feeding formulas in the United States. This article actually only has one sentence talking about how patients requiring tube feeding formulas are more vulnerable to bacteria contamination in those formulas. Do you see the highlighted little 4? That's the reference that she uses to make this claim. That reference points to a document that was again written by Sheila Campbell herself that isn't a peer-reviewed article. It's actually a hand guide for nurses on preventing microbial contamination of formulas and delivery systems. It's available free online. Just Google it. I could spend hours doing this. This is Nestle's proverbial needle in a haystack of references. In fact, I did my own survey on my Facebook page and found out of 219 respondents that blended food for their tubie or were taking a blended diet on their own, almost 98% of them said that they did not experience any foodborne illnesses since starting a blended diet. In fact, almost 85% of respondents complained of reflux and vomiting while on formula. And of those that suffered from vomiting and reflux, almost 75% of them had relief of some sort from reflux and vomiting once starting a blended diet. Nestle calls itself a health science company, but science involves full disclosure, honesty, transparency, reliance on evidence and peer review, and testability. We should not respect or support companies that misrepresent facts and evidence or even distort them. I do feel that Nestle does this considerably. At the very least, I'd love to raise some questions regarding their products. And if you're at all interested in the ethics of a company, as I am, you'd be interested to know that Nestle was accused of getting third world mothers hooked on formula, and then once they ran out of breast milk, they were forced to buy the formula that they couldn't afford. And if they couldn't buy it, their babies would starve. Nestle created a need where none existed and convinced the mothers that their products were indispensable. Nestle's practices led to a hearing in the Senate and the World Health Organization, resulting in a new set of marketing rules. Just this year, Nestle admitted to slavery practices in Thailand with both adult and child slaves, while still fighting child labor lawsuits in the Ivory Coast. And while California suffers a drought, especially the farmers, Nestle still continues to pump millions of gallons of water each year and sells it back to Californians. And this is 28 years after their permit has expired. The judge is still ruling on this incident. And to add icing to the Nestle cake, Nestle's chairman said that water is not a right. It should be given a market value and privatized and then sold to you. Thanks for watching, and make sure you check out my YouTube channel for more videos. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me, Veronica at blenderizedrn.com, or join our Facebook group where thousands of parents are blending for their kids, facebook.com/groups/blenderizedrn.